Hello, welcome to episode 2 of this new summer season of Back to the City. Today I am very happy to be joined by Ilya. Welcome, Ilya.
Thank you.
2017 was the last time we had a Back to the City conversation, and that was about Cool Pollution.
Yeah.
You were right on the cusp of releasing a record then, as you are now.
Yes.
Tomorrow at the Eagles is when you'll be celebrating the release of this debut Burning Peasant record, and that's going to be with the controversial new Skinny Pill, one of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
And Smelkin Ernesto.
That's right.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm yet to really fully discover those. But
one of your future favorite
one of my
bands.
future favorite bands. Exactly. And that's going to be at the Eagles, 9 p.m. And it costs $10. Friday, June 14th.
Yep.
Which is tomorrow, if you are watching the first broadcast of this on MCN6 Views. So I think it was back in August last year that you went into River Rock Studio with Eric Bloomquist.
That's right.
Yep,
Yeah.
to record these songs. And if I understand correctly, on the recording, it's you, all of the instrumentation, all of the every track laid down is you.
Yes, that's right.
And in the live version of Burning Peasant, if I understand correctly, it's you and one other person who is Mariah, who is your wife.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes.
I was hoping that was true. I thought that was all true. And the opening track is called Mariah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good place to start.
Sure.
At what stage did Mariah end up being the other member of Burning Peasant, the live band?
Yeah.
Now that Mariah is the other member of the live band, as you continue to work on new music, will Mariah be on future studio recordings? And how can we treat the opening track to the record, Mariah, as a kind of portal into the record?
Yeah, definitely. So, Mariah's been a part of my musical journey for quite some time. She's always been my number one fan and my biggest supporter, and always the person in my life encouraging me to put out my music, get it professionally recorded, and really helping for me to believe in myself. And what's really cool is about a year and a half ago, Mariah started learning how to play the drums. It's always been an interest of hers, and she finally got around to starting to take drum lessons and learning how to play. And I think it was about maybe 5 or 6 months ago, I was just sitting talking with Mariah and was like, hey, you're getting really good at drums. How about do you want to join my band and start playing with me live? And she was really excited about that idea. And so we started practicing together, and it started to sound really good. And so I'm actually, for our live performance, we're also going to be joined by our two good friends, Kevin Florenzano on bass and Brian Carlson on synth. So we'll have an even fuller band experience than what we've revealed so far.
Oh, great. I'm glad to hear that. I think the synth on the record is so crucial. Often when there's a recurring lyric and there'll be a synth melody that is engaging in some kind of interplay with the melody of the vocal hook.
Yeah.
And so I think that the synth is really key. I was wondering whether there were going to be backing tracks or something like that, but I like that tomorrow
Yes.
at the Eagles.
That's right.
There'll be live synth.
Yep, there will be live synth, and yeah, I've always just really liked the texture and the sounds that synths can add to music, and especially kind of reinforce some of the organic instrumentation that's already happening, whether that's vocals or guitar. And I really like to kind of play around with the sound of taking electronic synthetic sounds and trying to mesh them with more of an organic sound, hence kind of like the acoustic guitar throughout the album as well.
Yeah, the song Slava is one of the most interesting ones. On the back of what you were just saying, there's a lyric about the air raid sirens whining. And it's probably, I think maybe it's guitar, but there's certainly the music kind of evokes this kind of chaos or kind of cacophony. It's actually in a beautiful way.
Yeah, for sure.
And I really like how that kind of kicks. It goes away and then it kicks in again, like in one of the verses, neighbors and cities in fear, and then right before the lyric, nowhere to go, they stay here. Then do you know the sound I'm talking about, or the?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Do you have any reflections on how that song ended up, perhaps in the studio, evolving? Because sonically, I think it's one of the most interesting things.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. I think like the synth part in the background, when I was playing around with different synth parts to add to the track, that one really stuck out to me because it sounds like like a real siren.
Yeah.
And, I think whenever we hear real sirens in the world, it's usually, it does something to us. It's a very interesting, unique sound. It can be exciting, it can be scary, it can be ominous, and there's just such a strong musical element to it that when I came across that synth sound, I thought, oh, this kind of sounds like a siren, but it also kind of sounds like its own like synthy kind of instrument, and I just thought it added to the ominous feel of the music.
Yeah.
And I just thought it sounded pretty cool.
There is an ominous feel throughout the record, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I think also there's a particular style of hopefulness. Here we go, Dual Power, which is a favorite song of mine, and the most recent single.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
By the time of the record release. That one ends, hope will always live outside those walls and you'll never have to fall. And I think that lyric is key to the record. There's lots of moments where it seems very bleak and ominous, and that the siren sound is indicative of the world of this record. What thoughts do you have on the particular style of hope? Do you think that Burning Peasant is hopeful, and if so, could you expand on style of hope?
That's a really good question, and I think definitely central to some of the themes I'm trying to explore with this album. This album definitely came out of the previous years of the pandemic and all of the tumultuousness we've experienced at home or in the world, and that's been part about writing these songs for me was kind of trying to do almost like diary entries where I'm exploring myself, my thoughts, my feelings. I'm exploring how I think about the world, and it hope and optimism have definitely been things that I found hard to achieve as we've gone through the pandemic and other current events. I think what I am kind of trying to say with this music is that hope may seem hard to attain, but that there is something about it that still lives on. And how we find it in different ways throughout our lives, whether it's through love or our relationship with our community. There are things that ends up, I don't know if it ends up giving us hope, but it gives us something to continue at least trying to get to the next day, to try to pull us to see if maybe one day we can start believing in hope again. One quote I always like to mention is from one of my favorite movies, from the Matrix series, the second Matrix, when Morpheus is speaking to the hometown crowd when the machines are barreling down towards them. And it seems like they have no hope, that they're all about to get destroyed. And Morpheus says out to the crowd, that he does not fear and that he does have hope for the future. Why? Because we are still here. And he says that in a very triumphant way to the cheer of the crowd. And I think that there is something there that as long as we are still here feeling the emotions of love, of friendship and connection, that somehow hope will live on.
Dual Power opens, I don't need the table scraps from the upper wealthy families. And I do, there's a sense of, my partner Fiona speaks about the Gilded Age, the first Gilded Age, because now is the new Gilded Age, with so much disparity in wealth.
Sure. Yep.
And I feel like that is the context within which we are not to let our inner power be taken. Again, quoting dual power. Why is dual power called dual power?
Yeah, so it comes from this political theory that you can find in various anarchist and leftist political thought, which is the idea that in order to challenge the powers that be, or the oppressor, or the oppressive, the class of the oppressor, in order to challenge the power structures that do exploit us, we as a people and as a community need to create alternative forms of support for one another that where we can use to kind of support each other where the modern state or the powers that be fail in supporting us, protecting us, kind of in that way. And so like the idea around mutual aid, so a community, like after a disaster, you'll see community members coming out, helping out each other, whether that's donating food, clothing items to one another, setting up supply banks, setting up other services for each other if the state or rest of society has not been able to accomplish that. And really why I like it as a political concept, but also as something that reminds us of the strength of community, is that all we need is each other to really help us kind of get through the turmoil of today and bring us into tomorrow.
All we need is each other. That again, leaves me thinking about the opening track being addressed to Mariah, and when you're writing the song, and even when you're recording the song, you're presumably unaware that the idea hasn't even come to you of inviting Mariah to be in the band.
Right. Right.
And I hear it in the wind, Mariah is the lyric there. And then in the song Out of Time, you showed me
So Much Style.
So Much Style, yeah. So there is this sense there of focusing on the impact of being in the community, specific other people, maybe to kind of ground the kind of abstract conversation. Let's focus again specifically on that address to Mariah and how that ends up being the perfect starting point for the record.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like I don't know if I would be even putting this record out if it wasn't for Mariah. I think I've always struggled with self-doubt and not really having the confidence sometimes to put myself out there, put my work out there. And Mariah has always been kind of this steady thread in my life that has always kind of offered that inspiration and encouragement to actually follow through and whether it's following my dreams or just kind of having the confidence to put myself out there. And so I think that's why it ended up being such a perfect song to start the album off with, because it is that I feel like in order for me to really get out of bed in the morning and to go throughout my day, I really need the people who are most valuable to me in my life to kind of provide that encouragement. And Mariah's been always so amazing about that. So I'm really happy and excited to kind of honor her in that way, and think it's all kind of amazing that she's now going to be in the band and everything.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
And that was actually, I wrote that song for our wedding and was able to perform it for her at our during our wedding ceremony, or not after the ceremony, during the reception.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for all the people that were at our wedding, I'm excited to kind of show them what the song has kind of turned into. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We are now interspersed in a tapestry with the music video, which I love, to the first single, which is Sunset Wheat, track 3 on the record.
Yes.
And this music video was created by Grey Duck Productions.
That's right.
And you've shared in posts that they took the surreal vibe of the song and created some awesome psychedelic imagery to go with it. Could you expand a little on this music video? What level of direction did you provide to Grey Duck Productions?
Yes.
Also, I saw you posted a behind-the-scenes video, and it just looked like you were all having so much fun creating this video too.
It was a lot of fun.
So could you expand a little bit on the creation of this music video? Why is this psychedelic imagery so fitting for the song?
Yeah, definitely. I had a blast working with Jason Schumacher from Grey Duck Productions, and I had really great chemistry with him in terms of we both had really great ideas around how to structure the music video and how to make it. And the psychedelic concept came in really because the subject matter of that song is about insecurity and the feeling of, how you can feel when you're insecure. You feel that you feel lost, and it's hard to trust your senses and your feelings, and that, I kind of thought, in the past, whether I've had psychedelic experiences or things like it, that there's a lot of connection between that and feeling insecure and kind of questioning your thoughts and emotions. And so Jason really picked up on that idea and had some really great ideas around how to visualize that in the music video by creating more blur and by creating kind of abstract visuals that kind of go in and out of the shots we were filming, and meshing with kind of the background and kind of creating this sort of feeling of questioning reality and yourself and all of that.
I read that Sunset Wheat is the beer that you and Mariah were drinking on your first camping trip together.
Yeah.
It tasted like fruity pebbles.
Yes.
You impressed Mariah with your beer chugging abilities.
That's right.
So that's fun. How, therefore, did Sunset Wheat, which seems like quite a serious song, in the music video and in the lyrics as well, there's this sense of disorientation. Could you expand a little bit more on how the fun camping trip and drinking that particular beer wound up somehow leading to this song?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think it was, in my mind, a little bit more abstract, the connection, but how it really plays into it is, when the inspiration for that song came from a moment, where I was, feeling insecure about myself and thinking how interesting of a feeling insecurity is, especially compared to the backdrop of having so many positive memories that really should dissuade you from feeling insecure. And so, I was kind of like in that moment questioning, my connection with Mariah, but then also kind of remembering all of these previous past experiences that we had with one another, having so much fun, especially the first summer we met each other in our first camping trip, and kind of that love and bond and connection that we established during, the first kind of months of us getting to know each other, and kind of using those memories to remind myself that my insecurity isn't coming from a place of legitimacy, that it is something that my mind is kind of just making up in a disorienting way. And so it was kind of just thinking back to kind of like using a moment, like when I'm feeling it, like I'm in a dark period, using a happy memory from the past, like the first type of beer that we shared together, and how it tasted like Fruity Pebbles, and kind of using that positive memory to almost pull myself out of kind of a dark moment that wasn't really rooted in reality.
Interesting. Quite interesting. And the decision to call the first single of the new project after the beer that the two of you enjoy, it seems like a really intentional case in point of what you're describing, of deciding to choose to redirect your attention to these tangible, kind of like a memento of the good time.
Right.
And you can come back to that as an anchor, and it's grounding, and it kind of diffuses the anxiety and the stories that form around like the self-doubt.
Yeah, for sure. And really, when I kind of titled the song Sunset Weed, I wouldn't really even say that was kind of the realization I was having in that moment. Really, for me, at that particular time, it was thinking about the dichotomy and the difference between feeling insecure and when you're not feeling insecure, when you are kind of happy and rooted in where you're at, and just kind of like the difference in the two feelings, and how they can both kind of play out with the same people. I just thought was like really, really interesting how you can go from one moment being really happy and confident, and then to the next moment being insecure, and kind of how there's always you're always transitioning between the two, it seems. Yeah.
Are you coming home is the opening question in the chorus to Sunset Wheat. And then in the final track on the record, Lost, which is certainly at least one of my favorites, perhaps my actual favorite.
Oh, wow.
In that chorus we have, and you know it's not all that bad to let go, you know it's not all that bad to unroll, you know it's not all that bad to find snow, you know it's not all that bad to come home again. So there are these two moments on the record where there's a focus on coming home. Is that something that, can we bring those two songs into conversation with one another?
Yeah.
Sunset Wheat and Lost. How is each one playing with the idea of coming home?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think Lost is, I'm singing about myself as opposed to Sunset Weed. I'm singing to my partner, and yeah, I think the concept of home is, when your partner isn't home, or if you're not home, you kind of lack that feeling of, being complete. And so you have a piece of yourself that's missing. So for the song Lost, that's when, that song was really about me feeling, trying to find my place in the world, really, and trying to find where my home is, when I do find myself frustrated with the world, or if I find myself frustrated with other people, whether it's at work or in other situations, or if I'm frustrated with myself, because I'm not behaving or performing at the best of my ability, and that the feeling of, how do you get back to the place of feeling at home and kind of in alignment, in harmony with your surroundings. And so that kind of disconnect can happen, one of two ways. Either you are not at home and you're trying to get back to home, or a piece of your home, or someone who is important to you that's a part of your home is not there. And so whether you are in your home or not at home, that feeling of not being complete can still happen, like even if you're at home. And so that's maybe how it can connect back with Sunset Weed, is that like you can still feel lost even if you're at home, and trying to navigate those feelings and thinking about why do you feel that way, and what are the missing pieces. Can maybe play out in different ways depending on who you're thinking of. Are you thinking about yourself? Are you thinking about others? And are you at home or are you not at home? I guess it's a pretty important dichotomy in life, it seems.
Yeah. Lost, and therefore the album ends with, there's always a question that lingers: can I change? There's a focus on change in Sunset Weeds as well. Nothing's ever the same, change is always coming. And if we bring Sandcastles, another of the singles, into the conversation now as well, this sense of the mutability, nothing is permanent, everything could crumble at any moment. That, of course, is, you're using the metaphor of sandcastles there, and the idea that the tide can come rolling in and obviously wash away the sandcastle. I think that we're kind of now entering this is territory which is absolutely crucial to the record, I think. And again, it seems, again, there's minimal resources. There's, again, in Dual Power, I don't need the table scraps from the upper wealthy families. The protagonist, if there is one protagonist, is asking themselves, can I change? In a context where so much is changing and there's this sense of insecurity, and are there going to be enough resources? Perhaps if we're intentional, we can prioritize making sure that they do not take our inner power, and we can be intentional about connecting and bringing things together. What thoughts do you have about change coming, and about the question of, can I change? I think there's the hopefulness that one can change and evolve, but related to that, there is this staying the same in doing whatever it takes to ensure that one's inner power isn't taken by some external thing. What thoughts do you have about change, mutability, growth?
I mean, I think those are definitely big questions throughout the album, and questions I think I always think about, and a lot of people probably always think about, does society change over time? Does history show a natural progression to society? Are our lives getting better in the big picture than they were before, or are they not? Is progress actually occurring within society, or is history cyclical? And then the question always comes up, can people change themselves, right? We like to hope that people can change for the better, right? And people can improve. And I certainly believe that is possible. But, there are times in life where we see sometimes people not changing and kind of sticking to their old ways. And so I think tying it back to the question around hope too is, I think it's easier to believe in hope when we do believe that change is possible, whether within ourselves or within the society around us. And I think, I kind of go back and forth on that question almost on a daily basis. Some days I feel really optimistic, and I think change is possible, and I believe that, I can change myself for the better, and that society can change itself for the better. And then there are days where I feel more bleak and feel like it's harder, that change, whether it's personal or not, that it just seems like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and so really the question at the end of the album is, when I'm thinking about whether or not society can change for the better, I'm also thinking back to myself. If I can't change myself for the better, then can society? And so it all kind of starts with believing in myself, I think, first, and and that if I can believe that I can change myself for the better, then that kind of gives me the granule of hope to believe that maybe the world can change for the better as well.
Yeah, this is making me recall Morpheus and
Yes.
what is it? We're still here. What's this?
We are still here.
We're still here. And in turn, that's interesting to relate to. The Dream is another song where, in the narrative, there's things like "Boss Man steals my face away."
Mm-hmm.
So, and I wonder whether we can focus on the character of the burning peasant,
Mm-hmm.
how that comes into play here.
Yeah.
But my sense is that as we have this kind of would-be downtrodden character, where there are attempts to have like the essence or the core or the hopefulness of this individual be stripped away, and yet we don't let them take our inner power.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me that we're presented with a picture where the would-be downtrodden character is cultivating so much resilience
Mm-hmm.
to the extent that yes, if it's taken as a given that the sandcastle will be washed away and change is happening, but this individual is being well prepared for to survive and to thrive, perhaps. Whereas the upper wealthy families are not cultivating any of those skills.
Sure. Yes.
So, does that spark any thoughts for you, and or how does this? What do you have to say about the burning peasant?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think you're spot on with the comment around burning peasant connecting to the inner power we all have, and it's where I've drawn my inner power. So burning peasant, the name comes from my last name, Gorelik. It's an Eastern European Slavic/Jewish last name. I was born in Belarus, moved here when I was 4, but I've always kind of thought that it's interesting when you look at kind of like Eastern European, Slavic, or Russian last names, that sometimes the word of the last name kind of sounds like a word, kind of in the same way in English where Smith and Cook all kind of pertain to a certain kind of occupation or like a thing. Mm-hmm. Eastern European and Russian names do that as well. And so I was curious to learn a little bit more about my dad's last name and my mom's last name and kind of where those names could have originated from, or what kind of word or concept could they have been connected to. And Gorelik, which is my last name, is close to the Russian word for burning or to burn, which is goret. And my mom's maiden name was Kazutina, which kind of is close to the word for kaza, which is goat. So it could be loosely translated that last name kind of had an origin of like goat farmer, which would have been translated to kind of like peasant farmer. And so when I combined the two words or two last names, burning peasant kind of came up as like an amalgamation of both of the last names. And I just thought that was a kind of a beautiful phrase and a concept that I, resonate with strongly, in terms of just kind of thinking about, how our world ends up treating peasants or, people of a lower socioeconomic status, and how, our entire world, regardless of what society you live in, uses the flame or the energy produced by the lowest socioeconomic class to keep itself warm, to drive society forward, essentially. And so it's the peasants that are burning that keeps us all warm and alive and moving us forward. But that's also where I think communities can draw strength and inspiration. Is that it is the group of people that are most exploited that keep the world turning, and so it's something that I think we all kind of could benefit from reminding ourselves that we are all the individuals that are putting the value into this world and driving it forward. And if we remind ourselves of that inner power, that we can kind of carry ourselves into the following day.
Excellent. I really like this artwork,
Yes.
which is by Brooke Bartholomew.
That's right.
Yeah. And I don't know whether this is a coincidence or not, but to me it reminds me of a Van Gogh painting, Peasant Burning Weeds.
Yes.
Is that intentional?
That was very, very much intentional.
Okay.
Yep.
So what is the significance of that Van Gogh painting?
Mm-hmm.
And to what extent did you commission Brooke to do exactly this? What's the story behind this artwork, which it turns out does intentionally reference the Van Gogh painting?
Yeah, definitely. So that was very much a deliberate choice by Brooke and myself to kind of draw inspiration from the Van Gogh painting, and also kind of to draw connection to it. I've always been really kind of impressed and intrigued by artists that can incorporate artwork from previous artists into what they're doing, whether it's direct connection or just kind of loose inspiration. But I think there's something about the original Van Gogh painting that shows the beauty of peasantry and the beauty of the life that people in lower socioeconomic classes may lead. It might not be a flashy kind of aristocratic bourgeois type of life, but it's nevertheless can be just as beautiful and profound. And so I just thought it would be a kind of a cool connection to that painting for the album cover to kind of reference it in that way and to kind of keep that artistic lineage going.
Yeah, I think it works so well. What do we have here? Is this a city?
Yeah, I think it can be interpreted as a city or as a refinery of some sorts, perhaps a factory, but just kind of, I think the intention is to symbolize modernity, modern society, the pollution that may come from modern society and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
A couple more questions about the single Sandcastles before we come to close with a focus again on tomorrow's record release and then your involvement in the resurrection of the Back to the City showcase. But yeah, two more details about the song Sandcastles. One, how it ends. It ends in a way that's perhaps interesting to bring into conversation with the end of Lost. That's where there's always a question that lingers, can I change?
Mm-hmm.
The end of Sandcastles is focused on answers. I search for answers. I find some and put them back. I can't take them. They're too attached.
Yeah.
And then it's almost as if where we would expect there to be a chorus vocal, there's the ahs, but there's no words.
Sure.
So that struck me as something that it would be a shame not to zoom in on. What's happening at the end of that song with searching for answers, finding some, putting them back, can't take them.
Yeah.
And then who is Murphy? Said Murphy.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, I think to answer the Murphy question, I was just thinking of Murphy's Law in that, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. And, I think that kind of connects to the concept of sandcastles, which is, in my mind, sandcastles, or that song, and the concept of sandcastles symbolizes, the plans, schemes, concepts, frameworks that we create for ourselves in our lives, that we use to kind of avoid pitfalls, or that we use to kind of strengthen our own worldviews and how we go about our lives. That all of that, no matter how strongly we put those ideas together, they do sometimes just seem like they're built on a house of cards, that any one theory or kind of one perspective can be dissected to a point of failure, and that sandcastles are these beautiful ideas and concepts we build in our lives, but that one way or another there's something that can take it down. Which is maybe kind of like the beauty of the universe, right? That there's always kind of checks and balances built in within. But I think, so it kind of comes back to the question of, can we ever create a universal theory, idea, or concept that's impervious to any sort of exterior challenges? And, I think it seems like we can always get close, but there's always something that stands in the way. And that to me, that kind of connects to that second verse within Sandcastles, because when I'm talking about searching for answers, I'm kind of like talking about like looking through, my soul and my subconscious to find those answers. And it reminds me of like a dream that you may have one night where, the dream could be very vivid and you came to some sort of incredible realization. But then as soon as you wake up in the morning and you think back to the dream, you remember that, there was something incredible that I experienced or realized in my dream. But now that you're awake, it's harder to grasp. And the longer you go out throughout your day, the further away you get from that dream, the harder it is to remember what that realization was. And I think it kind of just speaks to the power of our subconscious, I guess, in a way, where our subconscious in one hand can reveal so much about ourselves, but then in the other hand, our subconscious is also very abstract, and it's really hard to kind of sometimes extrapolate lessons from the dreams we have, or from kind of the exploration we do of our subconscious, and trying to bring that back into the real world, and kind of the difficulty in bringing something from the abstract back into the concrete real world, and the challenges of taking one thing from another in those two worlds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that there's the skepticism about any answers that we might find, and yet the question always lingers, can I change?
Yes.
The question lingers, even though the answers don't linger.
Yeah, that's right.
As we come to a close, let's focus again on the couple of shows that we have on the horizon. A bit further out, I'm really glad because you're one of the new bands that I'm most excited about at the moment.
Oh, thank you.
So I thought it would
so
be apt to include Burning Peasant in the first Back to the City showcase since the first one post-lockdown.
Yeah.
We used to have monthly Back to the City showcases at Mortimer's right up until the pandemic, and I haven't brought them back until now. But Burning Peasant, I'm excited to include in the first one at the new home of the VFW.
We're very excited.
Yeah, and I think I'm excited. Thank you for being able to do that.
Oh, we're so excited.
Yeah, but of course, on the immediate horizon, the big record release show. The record is available to listen to already now, isn't it?
That's right, yep.
Came out on the 7th?
Yes,
yep.
Correct.
And now, tomorrow, if you're viewing this for the first time as it's broadcast on Thursday, Friday, June 14th, at the Eagles again. That's going to be Burning Peasant and the controversial new Skinny Pill and Smelkin Ernesto.
Yep.
8 p.m., $10. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about that particular event? And
just want to say we're very excited to play. Very excited to share the stage with controversial new Skinny Pill and Smelkin Ernesto. It's gonna be a really great night. We're gonna have some background visuals happening on stage, so it'll be a multimedia event. And Eagles 34 is such an incredible club, so for all you listeners out there, if you've never been, I highly recommend that club and venue. It's very cool. Yeah, we're very excited to hopefully see you all out there.
Excellent. Who do you have doing visuals?
So Jason Schumacher, who worked on the music video with us, created some extended visuals that were part of the music video, and then added some things as well to that. So that'll be what we are playing in the background.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can we'll be immersed in something like the atmosphere that we observe.
That's right.
In the music video.
Yep.
Excellent. Cool. So I'll see you at the Eagles tomorrow, 10 p.m.
Yep.
And then we'll see you at the Uptown VFW for the first Back to the City showcase in many years.
Yeah.
Thank you for being involved in that as well.
I'm honored.
Cool. Well, this has been Back to the City. I'm Simon Calder. We'll be back with episode 3 of the new summer season, which I believe will be with DJ Theology and my friend AJ, who is the core person behind the new Feral Dance night at the VFW. So that will be next week, 10 p.m. Thursday, and new episodes are archived on YouTube every Friday morning. Then there's hundreds on YouTube if you want to enjoy exploring some of the past ones. We'll be back next Thursday at 10 p.m.